The cafe went silent the moment Rowan Hale stepped forward, his steady voice cutting through the tension like a clean blade. Every eye turned toward him, but he kept his focus on the trembling little girl hiding behind his leg. Across the table, Marissa Valoran, the famously untouchable billionaire heiress known for her icy composure, stood frozen, her porcelain calm exterior cracked with disbelief as Rowan repeated his words, firmer this time, every syllable drenched in quiet courage, "She's with me." And in that second, the world watched two lives collide, neither knowing this moment would change everything. If you believe in second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindora Life. Your support helps these emotional stories reach more hearts. The sunlit morning outside the cafe windows spilled over everything in soft clarity, highlighting Rowan's broad, tired shoulders and Marissa's stunned expression. No one knew why the powerful heiress was suddenly standing face to face with a man dressed in a plain work uniform, holding a chipped lunchbox and shielding a little girl with mismatched braids. No one knew this wasn't their first encounter, just the first time the world had paused long enough to notice. Rowan was 32, a single father juggling two part-time jobs and caring for his daughter, Mira, a sensitive 7-year-old with a quiet smile that never quite hid the weight of losing her mother. He had spent months stretching every paycheck, fixing lunchboxes with tape, and learning how to braid hair at midnight while Mira slept on his chest. He didn't ask for help. He couldn't afford to break. And for the longest time, no one saw him, until Marissa. Marissa Valoran, 29, lived a life gilded in responsibility and reputation. She inherited the Valoran brand, a tech empire, after losing her father unexpectedly. Everyone admired her brilliance, but no one understood the crushing solitude behind her elegance. Her days were scheduled to the minute, her nights spent in glass towers overlooking a city she never got to touch. She lived surrounded by people, yet felt utterly alone. The first time Marissa saw Rowan was 2 months before the cafe incident, in the bright daylight outside Mira's school. She had arrived to inspect a community program her foundation supported, dressed in sleek business attire, her presence polished and commanding. Rowan, in contrast, had been kneeling on the sidewalk, carefully retying Mira's shoe while she sniffled from scraped knees. Marissa had paused mid-step, struck by the tenderness in Rowan's voice and the way he soothed tears with patience the world rarely had time for. Something about the scene had tugged at her, a longing she couldn't name. She didn't speak to him then, but she remembered. Their second encounter happened by chance at a weekend market. Mira accidentally bumped into Marissa, nearly dropping her bag of apples. Rowan apologized quickly, expecting judgment or irritation, but instead Marissa crouched to Mira's level with surprising gentleness, admiring the stickers Mira had placed on her bag. Rowan had watched the interaction with curiosity. Marissa had walked away with a feeling she wasn't familiar with, warmth. But today at the cafe was different. Today, Marissa was sitting with 2 corporate board members who constantly questioned her leadership. She was there to finalize a charity project, her stress hidden beneath layers of composure. Rowan, meanwhile, had rushed in carrying Mira after she burst into tears during school pickup, overwhelmed and frightened because a teacher had accidentally misplaced her sketchbook, the sketchbook that held the last drawing she made with her mother. Rowan knew the cafe gave Mira comfort, so he brought her there, hoping to calm her down. But fate had a way of tightening the strings. Mira's scattered sketches slid across the floor on their way in, catching the attention of Marissa's judgmental board members. One of them, with a dismissive sneer, made a remark about irresponsible parents causing scenes. Marissa tried to silence him with a sharp look, but before she could speak, Rowan stepped forward protectively, shielding Mira from their disdain. "She's with me," he said, his voice firm but polite, his tired eyes blazing with quiet defiance as if daring anyone to shame his daughter. That was the moment everything stopped. Marissa felt something inside her shift. She wasn't used to people speaking fearlessly in front of her board. She wasn't used to seeing a father stand so steadily for someone so small. And she wasn't used to feeling protective over a child who wasn't hers. When Rowan knelt to gather Mira's drawings, Marissa surprised even herself when she slid out of her chair to help. Her expensive dress brushed the cafe floor, yet she didn't care. The world watched the billionaire heiress kneeling beside a mechanic in scuffed shoes, gently lifting a crumpled sketch and handing it to Mira with a soft smile. Daylight filtered through the windows, framing the moment in something tender. From there, the world around them seemed to rearrange itself. In the days that followed, Marissa found herself thinking about Rowan and Mira more than expected. She remembered Mira's shaky smile when she thanked her, and how Rowan looked as though he wasn't used to kindness from strangers. There was sincerity in him she'd rarely seen in her polished, strategic world. Then the unthinkable happened. Marissa showed up at Rowan's workplace, not with bodyguards, not with cameras, but quietly, asking about volunteering for the children's program where Mira studied art. Rowan saw her standing awkwardly near the entrance, clearly out of her environment, yet trying anyway. He walked over cautiously, wiping grease from his hands. The sun lit his face, and Marissa felt her breath catch unexpectedly. She explained her idea, her usually flawless pitch faltering. Rowan listened carefully, surprised that someone like her wanted to involve herself personally. Mira, who had been sitting inside waiting for her dad, lit up instantly when she saw Marissa running to show her the newly found sketchbook. Marissa knelt again, examining each drawing as though they were masterpieces. For the first time in a long time, Rowan felt seen, not as someone struggling, not as someone barely making ends meet, but as a father doing his best. Days turned to weeks. Marissa began visiting regularly, sometimes to help with art lessons, sometimes just to talk. Rowan learned that beneath her composed exterior was a woman craving connection, someone who had lost her father and was drowning in expectations left behind. Mira, with her innocent honesty, brought out a softness in Marissa that even she didn't know she had. Their bond grew naturally, gently. Marissa began inviting them to community events. Rowan resisted at first. He didn't belong in her world. But Marissa reassured him with sincerity. She made sure everything felt comfortable for Mira, always remembering the little details, her favorite snacks, her love for bright ribbons, her habit of holding on to her father's sleeve when nervous. Every time Rowan watched Marissa with his daughter, something inside him shifted too. One sunny afternoon, as they all sat in a park under the shade of a wide oak tree, Marissa confessed that she often felt like she lived in a glass room, visible but unreachable. Rowan listened quietly, then told her she didn't have to be perfect around them. It was the first time she had cried in front of someone in years. But the world has a way of testing fragile peace. One morning, a rumor spiraled online. Photos of Marissa spending time with Rowan and Mira surfaced, sparking waves of judgment. Accusations, assumptions, headlines branding Rowan as someone chasing wealth, Marissa as someone being reckless, a storm neither of them were prepared for. Rowan's first instinct was to retreat. He didn't want Mira in the middle of chaos, didn't want Marissa's reputation hurt because of them. He avoided her calls, thinking distance would protect everyone. But Mira noticed the absence. She cried at bedtime, asking where Miss Marissa had gone. Marissa, refusing to let the world dictate her choices, showed up at Rowan's doorstep in broad daylight. She stood there, breathless, clutching a paper bag of Mira's favorite cookies. Rowan opened the door slowly, surprise and worry etched into his face. Before he could speak, Marissa stepped forward, determination shining through the morning light. "I don't care what they say," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "I choose who I care about. I choose who I stand with. And I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to."